number of people who were already employed there as directors. Now, there is a document that I might be able to show you which is being downloaded, but before that occurs, do you recall that there was a director of planning and compliance called David Smith?
I remember there was a David Smith. I think he was planning.
According to the material that the inquiry has received, his employment was terminated on the 30th of December 2022. A deed was entered into and that there was an ex gratia payment made to him.
I can't remember the date, but the rest would be about right.
And also on the 30th of December, Peter Diplis, who had been the acting CEO, I think before Tina Bono, and then who returned to a director's role, his employment was terminated with an ex gratia payment, and also a Paul Perrette, who was a director, also his employment was terminated.
That'd be correct.
Were you part of the decision-making process whereby Mr. Smith's employment was terminated?
Yes, they're the initial discussions I had with the directors
And this,
before I went overseas.
right, so this was sometime in December.
Correct.
And the initial, just you'd never worked with Mr. Smith before?
No.
You had an initial discussion with him by himself or with a number of the directors?
I met with all of the directors first, and then I asked for the directors to wait outside, and then I had individual discussions with each director.
And the individual discussion you had with Mr. Smith, what did that concern?
It was the same discussions with all the directors. It basically indicated how I intended to operate, wanted to be sure that they were happy to be part of the team, happy to work with. If they weren't happy to stay on, I was prepared to consider a termination agreement with them. And then ultimately we discussed 26 weeks and they made the decision as to whether to accept it or not.
All right, and you made that offer only to certain directors or all directors?
No, I made that offer to each of the 5 directors. 3 of them accepted it. 2 of them said no. 2 of them said no.
And the 3 who accepted it were Mr. Smith, Mr. Diplis and Mr. Perrette?
From memory, correct.
Did you have a discussion, and sorry, withdraw that. When you said, this is the way I intended to operate, what did you indicate to them?
That I wanted one team. I wanted us working together. I was aware at that stage of the toxic environment that was happening in council and with employees. I wanted that to stop. I'd use expressions like, I do not want an us versus them mentality. There's got to be us, one team. I expect all the directors to be working together with me and to be happy to be working here.
Before you had this conversation with Mr. Smith, did you have a discussion with the Mayor, Mr. Manoon, about any of the directors?
From recollection, the Mayor had indicated to me that there was quite a bit of dysfunction at council. He indicated that to me before I even put in the application when he phoned me on those 2 occasions, indicating that he needed me to resolve. He did indicate that there were some issues between the directors themselves and then issues between the directors and the staff.
Did he nominate any of the directors?
From memory, it would have been definitely Mr. Smith and definitely Mr. Diplis. I can't remember if he mentioned any of the others.
Mr. Ajaka, in answering that, you used the terminology would have been. You used the term would have been. Do you have a recollection of that?
I definitely recollect those two, don't have a recollection of the others. That's why I say would have been.
And do you recall at all concerning Mr. Smith, whether the mayor raised anything specifically about him?
The planning, which is one of the issues he raised in me, that the planning department was not functioning well. DAs weren't being dealt with in an appropriate time. There was a very large waiting list, serious delays, and didn't believe that he was up for the job.
Did you raise those particular criticisms with Mr. Smith?
No.
The next person I wanted to ask you about, or next employee, I'm sorry, is Raj Autar.
Yes, he was the other director whose name I keep forgetting.
Who was the Director of Infrastructure and Environment. According to the material we have, his contract was terminated on the 3rd of February 2023.
That date would be about right. If I recall, I mentioned that 3 took the offer, 2 said no, they wanted to stay. And then sometime later, the 4th director, whose name I couldn't remember, came to see me and decided that he wanted to also leave and wanted to know that the office was still the same.
At any time before the termination of his contract, did Mr. Manoon raise anything about Raj Autar with you?
Not that I can recall.
Did Mr. Autar inform you of why he decided to leave?
He'd said that he'd spoken to his wife and felt that it was time for him to move on.
Did you have any issue with the way he was performing his work?
No, I actually indicated to him that I really did want him to stay. I felt that the work that he'd been doing in that short time I was there was exemplary.
Why did, if he wanted to leave after speaking to his wife to move on, why was he offered an ex gratia payment? Why wasn't he just paid what he was legally entitled to under his contract?
When I spoke to all 5 directors, I made the same offer to all 5 directors. I did indicate to all 5 directors that they could have some time to think about it. I did indicate that it wasn't a redundancy, it wasn't a payment in accordance with their contract. It was, I've signed a non-disclosure, so I can't specify the amount, but it was an amount less than what it was. And so 3 accepted it straight away. The other 2 said no, they wanted to stay. And then Raj came back, and I had already committed that I would keep the offer on the table if he changed his mind, or if the other director, Tina Bono, had changed their mind. And I wanted to stick to that agreement that I'd reached.
But with Mr. Autar, who you've given evidence was doing a very good job, by allowing him or paying him this ex gratia payment, you're actually incurring additional costs on the ratepayers of Liverpool.
Correct.
Did that concern you at the time?
No, what concerned me the most when I first started, and I had made that very clear to everyone, that my hiring practice has always been, and my retention practice has always been, that I wanted people that were absolutely capable of doing the job and absolutely wanted to be there to do the job. From my experience, unless you tick both those boxes, it was never going to work. And if an employee did not want to be there, in particular a director, then that's why I made the initial offer to them that if you don't want to be here, if you want to move on, let me know, because either you want to. And I thought that the two of them wanted to stay.
But legally, they're allowed to terminate their contract upon appropriate notice under the contract.
Correct.
And in doing that, there is no additional ex gratia payment that has to be funded by the ratepayers of Liverpool.
Agreed.
When you spoke to all 5 of the directors, did you have any concerns about the performance of any of them?
I'd only been, the information I had about the 2 that the mayor had indicated that weren't doing their job, but personally, no, I didn't at that stage. But again, I was happy for them to stay, but I wanted them to want to stay, Commissioner. I didn't want them there if they didn't want to be there and didn't want to work together. That was my aim, was to stop the toxicity within it. And if I had to have a whole new team, then I had to have a whole new team that would work effectively.
At that stage, had you formed a view as to whether it was toxic, and if so, why?
Oh, I definitely formed a view by that stage if it was toxic in the very early discussions I'd had with staff and the USU and the very delegates of the USU. It was clear.
Or these were discussions you had in December.
Yes, in that first week.
And when you say toxic, toxic in what way?
The original term toxic came from the USU delegates that I met with in the first day. Toxic in the fact that everyone was fighting with everyone with their words. Toxic in that, you know, the mayor wasn't respecting them. The mayor was continually making adverse statements against them. Toxic in that they were fighting with managers. One of the most toxic aspects was certain human resources employees working with them were creating problems. And the final aspect of it was the 53 matters that were the industrial relation type matters that were, it was just a figure unheard of.
The 53 grievances.
Grievances or industrial relation that had escalated to the industrial relations.
And so you referenced to something about human resource people?
Yeah, POD, I think it was called in those days.
I'm sorry?
POD, P-O-D, people, and it was a nice acronym.
It's basically human
But it
resource.
was called POD. I never got used to it. I always called them human resources.
And what was the complaint or the issue about them?
So a number of the human resources staff were actually placed in particular sections as opposed to all being in their one area. 2 in particular were placed down at the operations depot in Rose Street, and there were a huge number of complaints that were coming from both sides. The staff were complaining about the pod, and the staff were complaining about the staff. And at one stage, it was clear that it couldn't continue like that, and I moved the 2 employees out of operations back to head office.
Who was the director looking after POD?
At the time,
That Tina Bono?
it would have either been Tina Bono or acting would have been Farooq Portelli, corporate.
No further questions.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Richardson.
Mr. Ajaka, my name is Ms. Richardson. I'm acting on behalf of Mayor Manoon.
Yes,
And I ask you some questions.
yes. I'm sorry, if you could possibly just speak up a little bit. My hearing's not the best.
Certainly.
Thank
and
you.
if at any point I'm not clear, just please ask me to repeat what I've asked.
Appreciate that.
So, Mr. Ajaka, you commenced as CEO in about December of 2022, is that correct?
Yes.
So I wanted to start with some questions about the meeting and the lead up to the council meeting in April of last year where the police were called.
Yes.
So I want to focus on that period of time first, if we may. So you gave evidence last week that Mayor Manoon sent you an email, which has been called the 4-point email, whereby if this can be brought up, OLG.001.001.0310. And while that's happening, I'll just give some context and then the email will be brought up. Yes, please. If we could go to the second page, please. Pardon? Yes, please. We could go down a bit further. Yep, stop. So you gave evidence last week, Mr. Ajaka, that the Mayor sent you and two others this email on the 12th of April of last year.
Correct.
And you see there it's headed next steps or confidential next steps budget, and then the Mayor asks you to provide modelling and recommendations for the budget in respect of 4 enumerated things. You recall receiving that email?
Yes.
And the context of that was that council staff were in the process of preparing the budget for the following financial year. That the context.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Sorry,
again?
the context in which this email was sent was that council staff were in the process of working on the budget for the following year.
I don't think that was the context that I received it. We'd already had some previous discussions before that had come through to me.
Certainly. So there was an ongoing process whereby budget line items were dealt with in terms of would they be in or out and so on, and you'd already had discussions about that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And isn't it the case that part of the budget process is that it goes over a couple of months with lots of meetings and the line items change in terms of whether things are going to be included or excluded and what type of surplus or deficit it might produce. Is that correct? It happens over a period of time?
Yes.
Thank you. And this email was sent as part of that process, is that correct?
Again, I didn't take it as part of that process. I took it as a response to the discussions he and I had about the removal of certain staff, to which I indicated I could not do that, and then suddenly this email appeared.
So, but you agree that the subject matter of the email was about the budget and the Mayor asked for modelling, and then you responded by asking Mr. Portelli to undertake the modelling. Is that correct?
I agree with that's what it says, yes.
And that's what happened, is that right?
Again, I sent the email to the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and Mr. Portelli to organise a meeting to discuss it, because again, my view was this was just another way of the Mayor raising with me a way of removing these positions when he did not agree with me that this was, in fact, an inappropriate way to deal with this. It was a restructure, not simply a budget adjustment.
Could we just look at the top of that page 2, please? We see here if we could straddle the bottom of the second page, your immediate response was to send an email back to all of the recipients, including Mr. Portelli, saying, "Hi, Mr. Mayor, as discussed," and talking about arranging a time to meet. And then you asked Mr. Farooq Portelli to put the figures together, correct?
Correct, but again, it's as discussed. I'd already had a discussion with the Mayor between his email and that one going out, where again I said to him, you know, this is a restructure. You can't for Farooq and I to meet with you and the Deputy Mayor to discuss.
Mr Ajaka, you gave evidence last week that you did ask Mr Portelli to do the modelling in response to the request from the Mayor. Do you recall that evidence?
Yes,
And that there was no problem from your perspective for the Mayor asking you to provide that modelling. You recall giving that evidence?
yes,
And that's your evidence today, that was perfectly proper for the Mayor to ask you to undertake that modelling as part of the budget process?
I think I said if this was the only thing that I'd received or discussed with the Mayor, that would be correct. But there was more to this email than just that.
Well, I wanted you to focus on the terms of the email. Do you stand by your evidence that the Mayor asked you to model the 4 points that were in that email, that you asked Mr Portelli to do that, and you didn't see any problem with the Mayor asking you to undertake that modelling? Is that still your evidence?
As I indicated, if this was the only email that I'd received or the first time this had been raised, I would not have seen any problem with that at all. But I'd already discussed with the Mayor on numerous occasions that this is not simply a budget adjustment. This is a restructure, and it was on that basis that I indicated to the Mayor I would arrange a time for Farooq and I to meet with him and the Deputy Mayor to discuss. In the meantime, I asked Farooq to put the figures together and see me to discuss.
And isn't it the case that looking at the 4 things that the Mayor asked you to model, your evidence is that you didn't see that there was a problem with the Mayor asking you to do modelling of that kind? I'm focusing on the 4 things that he asked you to model in the email. Do you stand by that evidence?
Look, I think I've already answered that. I don't know how many times I can repeat it.
Well, I'm not asking you for things that are not in the email. I'm asking you to focus on the 4 things he asked you to model, and you asked Mr Farooq Portelli to do that modelling. Is it
I'll
your
answer that.
evidence that you did not have a problem with the Mayor asking you to model those matters, yes or no?
As I indicated, if this was the only matter that had ever been arisen, the answer would have been I saw no problem with it at all. But as it wasn't, I saw a problem with it. And that's why I discussed it with him and indicated that Lauren would arrange a time for Farooq and I to meet with him and the Deputy Mayor to discuss.
So that meeting happened on the 16th of April, is that right?
If that's the date, yes.
I can tell you from the documents that's correct.
Thank you.
And the people present were the Mayor,
I'm
yourself.
sorry, I'm really having a little bit of difficulty hearing you.
Sorry.
It's my fault.
No, not at all. Is it the amplification through the microphone, or is it just my lack of volume?
I tend to look at lips as well.
Oh, okay. So if I look more
I've got
closely.
hearing aids, so I tend to look, yes, if you look
Okay.
at me and it just project a little bit more, it becomes very easy for me to hear. Sorry.
No, I'll do my best.
No, it's my fault.
I'm trying
as
to
I said.
read and I'm short-sighted, so I'll try and do all of those things.
We all have issues.
So
Never a true word.
the people present at the meeting were yourself, the Mayor, Mr Portelli, and the Deputy Mayor, Ms McDonald.
Correct.
And it was in your office and it was arranged by someone who was working with you, correct?
Yes, Lauren was the acting EA at the time for me.
Thank you. And you were sitting next to Mr Manoon, the Mayor, at the meeting?
No, from memory, the way it was is Mr Portelli and I were sitting next to each other, and on the other side of the table, the Deputy Mayor and the Mayor was directly in front of Mr Portelli, and the Deputy Mayor was exactly in front of me.
Well, I want to suggest to you that you were sitting next to the Mayor and that he was on your right at that meeting.
No, that's not my recollection at all.
And the purpose of the meeting was as part of the budgetary process, is that right?
No, the purpose of the meeting was for me to again discuss with the Mayor why we couldn't do the 4 things that he was suggesting unless it was a restructure, unless it was seen as a restructure, which would require a motion by council and would require at least 4, 5 or 6 months to implement.
And they were, the 4 things in the email were 4 things that the Mayor wanted to have modelled for the purposes of the budget, correct? That's what he wanted to happen?
Well, that's what he was saying in the email. But
That's what he wanted the modelling for, is that right?
Well, that's what he was saying in the email, but I didn't accept that.
And you were aware that the Mayor had said to you on multiple occasions that he wished to have a budget that was either balanced or not in deficit, that was a strong desire he wanted to achieve from a policy perspective?
So in the various meetings over the few months, when it was over 20 million, he'd thrown the papers in the air, so it was clear that that was not acceptable.
Well, I'll just ask you, Mr Ajaka, to answer my question. Do you agree with me, just attend to my question, do you agree with me that the Mayor had communicated to you on multiple occasions from a policy perspective his strong wish Okay, I'll come back to that. And during that meeting, you accept that as part of the interchange of ideas at that meeting, that you became very frustrated and said to Mr Mayor, for the love of God, shut the fuck up. You said that to him?
It wasn't in very frustrated, it was more from concern about what he was putting to me was completely inappropriate.
Well, I want to suggest to you, Mr Jaka, that to say to someone, you accept that wherever he was sitting in close proximity to you at the meeting?
He was across the table.
He was in close proximity to you, sitting down at a table, correct?
He was definitely across the table from me, yes.
Would you accept that he was in close proximity to you?
I would have taken a close proximity as sitting next to me, but he was sitting across the table from me. It's a fairly wide table.
Well, I want you to accept that you did not say, for the love of God, shut the fuck up out of concern for Mr Manoon. You said it because...
Well, I object. He didn't say that he said it out of concern for Mr Manoon. He said I was concerned, which may raise concern for another issue.
That's my recollection.
I'll ask a different question. I want to suggest to you that they were... do you accept that that was something that was quite inappropriate to say to the Mayor in the context of that meeting?
Yes.
And I want to suggest to you that you said it in anger and frustration to him?
No.
You don't accept that?
There was no anger whatsoever, and there was really no frustration at that time. As I said, I was concerned about he raising and putting to me matters that were completely inappropriate.
And I want to suggest that you were seeking to shut the Mayor down in his discussion of matters and that you swore and said those words in frustration to him. Do you accept that?
Again, I didn't say I'm in frustration. I wasn't trying to shut the Mayor down. I was trying to point out to the Mayor that what he was saying was inappropriate and it should, cease.
And isn't it the case that after you said it, the Mayor said to you, what did you say? And you responded, don't make me repeat it. You heard me.
Correct.
And I would suggest to you that that was also an aggressive response to take with the Mayor after you had used words to that effect. Do you agree with that?
No.
You don't agree with that?
There was no aggression.
And do you accept that you said those words in the heat of the discussion?
There was nothing heated about it. The Mayor was very calm in what he was putting to me, and I responded back to him in a calm way. It was just that it was completely inappropriate.
Well, I want to suggest to you that in your interview as part of Mr. Harvey, as part of the Weir review, you accepted that you had said those words in the heat of a discussion. Do you accept that characterisation of what you said?
I don't recall in the heat of a discussion with Mr. Harvey.
Well, isn't that what happened, that you're having a discussion and, well, I'll go back a step. Is this an unusual thing for you to use language like that when you're having a professional meeting with someone?
Yes.
So isn't it the case that the explanation is that you said it in the heat of a discussion you were having with the Mayor?
Again, as I've said, it was a situation where he put something to me that was completely inappropriate. And when I discussed it with him, and it was a discussion, I then indicated to him at some stage, for the love of God, and the rest of it.
And
Enough.
I want to suggest to you that your language and tone that day was jarring and shocking to the people who
Sorry,
were...
I missed part of
I
that.
want to suggest to you that your language and tone that day was jarring and shocking to the people who were there at the meeting,
I'm sure they were shocked.
and that it was jarring that you would speak like that to the Mayor, to those people.
Look, I don't understand the concept of jarring.
Well, you accept that they would be shocked to
Yes.
hear you use that type of language with the Mayor.
Shocked, stunned, yes.
And you agree with me that in that meeting, where you accept that in the meeting you were discussing the 4 points that were listed in the Mayor's 4-point memo. You accept that's what you were discussing?
So when the comment was made by me, we had only discussed point number 1. We had not directors only, so we were only halfway through point number 1. After the comment was made, we continued the meeting and discussed the second part of point 1, the managers. Then we discussed part 2. Then we discussed part 3. The meeting concluded at the end of part 3. I think it was about another 20 minutes after the comment was made, and then the Mayor and Deputy Mayor left.
And do you agree with me that at no point in the meeting was there any discussion that there would be 150 job losses that might occur? You agree with that?
Yes.
That was never discussed, correct?
No, it was never raised.
And that was never raised by Mr. Manoon with you up to this point? It was never in contemplation, was it, that there would be 150 job losses, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that at all times, that that was not in contemplation by the council, 150 job losses?
As far as I'm aware, no one had ever spoken about 150 job losses.
No one within the council who had any type of decision-making role had ever discussed 150
No one had
losses?
ever discussed it with me. The Mayor had never discussed it with me. I'd never raised it with anybody.
So you knew, and I'll come back to this later, but when the unions started making public statements that it was proposed that there would be 150 job losses, that was false, correct?
As I indicated, it's not something that I had stated. It was raised subsequently at the Peter Harvey interview, and I made it very clear that it had nothing to do with me. I had no knowledge of it. And I believe Sandy Northern made it very clear to Mr. Harvey that someone had told them, and it was not me, but she wouldn't reveal who it was.
Mr. Ajaka, just so that we can go more quickly, just focus on my question.
I thought I was. I'm sorry.
No, I'll just ask it again. Do you agree with me that given it had never been discussed within council or contemplated that there would be 150 job losses, that when the union were saying in the public domain that it was slated that there would be 150 job losses, that rumour was false? Do you agree with that?
I agree that it was not correct. Yes,
It was false, wasn't it?
it's not correct.
And it was not correct to your knowledge at the time, was it? Because you knew that 150 job losses was not in contemplation, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. And I just want to talk to you about Ray Hadley interview. Are you aware that, so just to give you a time post, the meeting we were just discussing happened on the 16th of April, and the council meeting where the police were called happened on the 24th of April. Have you got those dates clear as goalposts, if you like?
Thank you.
And you become aware in the morning before the council meeting that Stephen Donnelly from the union went on Ray Hadley and discussed the upcoming council meeting.
I was told about it after,
Yeah.
after the interview.
Okay, you were told about it on the same day as the interview?
Oh, yes.
Because it was big news, wasn't it?
I think I had about 8 or 9 people ring me to tell me it happened.
So you knew promptly after the Ray Hadley interview what Mr. Donnelly had told Ray Hadley, correct?
I was told by the people
Yeah.
who rang me.
And were you told that Stephen Donnelly had repeated the claim to Ray Hadley that there were 150 jobs at risk?
I was told that.
That's what he'd said?
I was told that.
Thank you.
Sorry, Ms Richardson, can you just remind me of the date of the interview with Mr
It was the
Hadley?
23rd of April
Thank you.
at 10:40 a.m.
Thank you.
We've just had that transcribed, and we've also had, I think, the audio of the interview already has a number, but we've had it transcribed, which I think has also been given inquiry numbers. Just to assist you. I don't know whether this can be put on the screen because it's, but the number is NMA 001.001.0007.
All right. See if we can put that up.
Oh. So whatever's easiest for you, we can either put it on the screen or you can read it, Mr. Ajaka.
Let's try and put it on the screen if we can.
Thank you.
We've got a...
Could I just check whether our associates got the number?
Ends in 007.
Yes.
Correct.
You want that on the live screen?
Yes, please. So I won't go through all of it, Mr. Ajaka. I'll just ask you a few things.
Yes.
So you'll see there, I'll refer to rows in the 4th row, SD. So that's Mr. Donnelly speaking. Sorry, in the 3rd row, Mr. Hadley says, let's go through what you know or perhaps have been told that there are at risk at Liverpool City Council 150 jobs. Is that what you've been told or what you know? Do you see that?
I can see that, yes.
And then the next line, Mr. Donnelly says, and I'm summarising, we were out there at a mass meeting this morning. There is 150 jobs on the line. The CEO, John Ajaka, has been told that there will be a council meeting tomorrow at 2:00. They'll go into a closed session and the so-called Mayor, Ned Manoon, will sack him. See that?
I can see that, yes.
So what I'm focusing on today is you said lots of people rang you up after this interview with Hadley to tell you what had been said, correct?
Correct.
And did I think you've already said they told you that part of what the union delegate had said to Mr. Hadley was that there were 150 jobs on the line at Liverpool Council, correct?
That's what Mr. Donnelly had said, yes.
But also you were told that after the interview on the same day that that's what he'd said?
Yes, it was one of the things I was told, yes.
Thank you. And were you also aware that there'd been a mass union meeting at the council in the morning of the 23rd of April?
I was told that, yes.
And were you also told that Mr Donnelly had told Mr Hadley on the radio that there was going to be a council meeting the following day where they'd go into a closed session and the mayor would seek to sack you? Were you told that that's what he'd said on the radio?
Correct. That was the second thing I was told, that I was going to be sacked.
Thank you. And if you could go over the page, please. And we see in the fourth row on the top, it starts from Mr Hadley, okay, let me declare an interest here. I've known John for quite some time. I know his family. Is that correct? Does he know your family?
He knows my wife very well.
Would
They
you
work
just-
together.
Would you describe yourself as friends of Mr Hadley?
I wouldn't say he's a friend. He's someone I know.
Has he been to your house to socialise?
No.
But would you accept his characterisation that he's known you for quite some time
Yes.
and that he knows your family?
Yes.
And if you look at the row in the middle of that page, Mr Donnelly says, tell you about Mr Ajaka. It tells you that he's got everything under control. He's doing a fantastic job, and all the staff, the members now have voted that they'll stop work tomorrow and they're going to the council meeting at 2:00 to protest out in front of the new chambers. Do you see that?
Sorry.
Do you see that?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Someone just pointed
That's
an
okay.
arrow to me. Yes.
And then he goes on to say that every member of the USU will be there at 2:00 tomorrow.
Yes, I see that.
And so were you also told, where people were giving you an account of what had been said on the radio, that what had happened at the meeting, the mass meeting at the council that morning, was they'd voted to stop work tomorrow in order to go to the council meeting and protest?
I see that.
No, I'm just asking you.
Sorry.
That's okay. You were told that day, were you, that that was what Mr Donnelly had said to Mr Hadley, that the members had voted that morning at their mass meeting to stop work the following day in order to go to the council meeting and protest?
The calls that I received from the 8 or so people basically said two things: about 150 people being sacked and that I was going to be sacked. I don't believe any of them mentioned the part about the demonstration of those that phoned me.
But isn't it the case that you knew in advance of the meeting that large numbers of union members and council employees were going to be there to protest?
I was told at some stage that that was going to happen.
And that was before the meeting?
Correct. But not by any of the 8 people that had phoned me.
And if we could please turn to the bottom of the third page. And the final line is Ray Hadley saying, and there'll be a protest by the union tomorrow at this 2:00 meeting, where according to Steve Donnelly, the mayor is doing his best to remove John Ajaka. So were you told anything to that effect in the afternoon of this radio interview, that that is what was planned for the following day?
I don't think anyone told me that was said at the end. As I said, I didn't hear the program.
So when you were told that day that the union had gone on Ray Hadley and said that 150 jobs were at risk at Liverpool Council, was it the case you were aware that that would be received as very controversial news in the community in Liverpool if there are 150 jobs at risk in the council?
Yes.
And that you understood, did you at the time, that that would mean that the meeting the following day was likely to be very volatile?
I mean, there'd been previous demonstrations when I first started that we were able to put a stop to. Council meetings are open meetings. You can't restrict people from coming to them. But yes, I knew that there was going to be a demonstration.
So you knew there was going to be a demonstration, and you knew that the fact that there was a rumour that there'd be 150 job losses, you were aware, weren't you, the day before, that the meeting the following day was going to be extremely volatile, correct?
No, the demonstration by the unions in the past haven't been volatile. I mean, there's a little bit of chanting, there's a few placards, but there's never been a situation where it was volatile, to my knowledge.
Well, you knew that the union delegate had said that all of the union members would stop work and go to the meeting in order to protest, correct?
Yes,
And so that would be a large number of people to be expected at the council meeting protesting.
correct.
And in fact, I think you've given evidence in the Weir review that by your observation, there were 150 people outside the chamber protesting and 150 people inside. Do you recall that?
I don't know if it was 150 inside or outside, opposed to 150 in total, but I honestly can't recall it.
But
The chamber was full, so whatever its capacity was, it was full, and there would have been about 70, 80 people outside, maybe 100.
Well, I want to suggest to you that you told Mr Harvey during the Weir review that there were up to 150 people outside. Is that seem consistent with your
I
recollection?
don't recall that. If that's the case, then that's the case.
And do you agree with me that the people who were outside were chanting?
We could just hear them in the inside.
You could hear them chanting, correct?
But we couldn't hear I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could hear chanting.
Thank you. And you were aware at the time that they were holding up placards and signs?
I wasn't seeing them, but I assumed they were, or someone may have mentioned to me they were.
But were you later told that the placards, some of them had very offensive slogans on them in relation to the mayor?
No, I'm just aware of one offensive comment that was made. I was told about it after the event.
Well, you were aware that one of the things that was being chanted or yelled out was put pork on your fork.
That one I was told.
And you were aware that that was a deeply offensive phrase to the mayor as a Muslim?
Absolutely.
And that was a phrase that had been deployed against him in the past and had made him extremely upset?
Correct.
And were you also later told that one of the people protesting had actually brought a toy pig to the protest out the front of the council chambers?
Don't recall that. I don't have a recollection of that.
So it's the case, isn't it, that when you were told after the Ray Hadley interview on, I think the council meeting was the Wednesday, the 24th, so this is the Tuesday, when you were told on the Tuesday after the morning Hadley interview that the union delegate was saying in public that 150 jobs at risk, you knew that was a rumour that was not correct. Is that the case?
I did not believe for one moment that the 150 was correct. I didn't believe that anyone would take it seriously.
Just listen to my question. You were aware that when you were told that the union organiser had been saying on Ray Hadley that there was likely to be 150 job losses, you knew at the time that that was a rumour and it was a rumour that was not correct. Is that the case?
Yes.
And you knew that that rumour was would be likely to cause significant unrest and distress amongst staff?
I would have assumed that.
That would have been obvious to you at the time, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And it's the case, isn't it, that you knew the day before the Hadley interview that the union was publicly disseminating information that there was likely to be 150 job losses at the council. Do you accept that?
I can't remember in the sequence, but I do remember at one stage hearing it, yes.
Well, I want to suggest to you, and I'll have this interview brought up with Weir, that what happened was the union rang you and they told you that their understanding was that there would be 150 job losses, and that was on the 22nd of April, which was the Monday. Do you recall that?
I can't recall the date, but I recall receiving a phone call from Sandy Northern, and I indicated to her that that's completely incorrect. There is no talk of 150 job losses.
Well, I want to suggest to you that in your interview with Mr. Harvey as part of the Weir review, at no point did you suggest that you told the union that via Sandy Northern that the 150 job loss proposition was not correct, that you have not previously stated that.
It was put to me that I was the one who put the 150 job losses to the union, and I made it clear that it was not me. I had never mentioned that. The first I'd heard of it was from the USU or from some email that had come through from an advocate, and Sandy Northern made it clear to Peter Harvey that the person who told her was not John Ajaka, but she would not reveal who the person was.
But it's the case, isn't it, that the union rang you and the union told you that their understanding was that there would be 150 job losses, correct?
Yes, that's my recollection. I said, no, that's not correct.
And you knew that on the 22nd of April, which was 2 days prior to the council meeting?
That may well be the case. I can't remember the date.
And I want to suggest to you that if you had in fact said to Sandy Northern, is that a man or a woman?
A female.
I mean, but when she, was it she that rang you to say, we understand there's going to be 150 job losses at the council? Was she the union person?
Yes.
That if you had said to her in response, no, that's not correct, that's something that you would have told Mr. Harvey as part of your interview with him in a couple of months after the events. Do you accept that?
As I said, it was made clear to Mr. Harvey that I was not the person who said that.
I'm asking you a different question. If you had, in response to Ms. Morthen telling you they thought there would be 150 job losses, if you had in fact said to her, no, that's not correct, that is something that you would have told Mr. Harvey in May of last year as part of your transcript of interview. Accept that?
I was answering very specific questions that Mr. Harvey was asking me, so I can't recollect that I said that or didn't say that.
And so you knew on the Monday, the 22nd, that the union had rung you saying we think there are 150 job losses, and you knew the following day, is it the case that you understood after the union delegate had gone on Ray Hadley and repeated those claims that the matter had escalated significantly?
I don't know what you mean by this.
Well, it had escalated significantly, hadn't it? Because now the union were not just ringing you up and saying, this is our understanding. They were going on a popular radio station to repeat the claim. Correct?
Correct.
And isn't that a significant escalation? Do you agree that that's a significant escalation?
I wouldn't use the term significant escalation.
Well, it was getting more controversial, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because you knew that when people at Liverpool Council in the community understood that there might be 150 job losses to be considered at a council meeting the following day, that would be a very controversial proposition, correct?
Not quite. Almost.
Pardon?
Not quite, but almost. I don't think it's at that level.
Well, isn't it a matter of common sense? If you think about what has happened, 150 people turned up outside with placards and were chanting,
Yes.
correct? And the council chamber was full inside. And the mood of the meeting was, would you agree, it was agitated and tense?
No, they were very calm. They were sitting there, they were hardly speaking, but they were my understanding is they turned up because they were concerned about my being sacked. I did not at that time accept that the mayor would sack me without any form of notice.
Well, you also...
There'd been no discussion on sacking me. There'd been no indication by him that I was going to be sacked. There was nothing in the business paper about my being sacked.
It's obvious as a matter of common sense that if you've got a council with a rumour being propagated via email and also via a very popular radio station that there's going to be 150 job losses, and the way it was framed by the union delegate is that the CEO, John Ajaka, has said this is happening, that it was obvious to you.
I never said that the 150 were going to be sacked.
Mr. Ajaka, I'm talking about what the union delegate told Mr. Hadley that you had said that was happening. I'm not suggesting that.
Sorry, I disagree
Oh,
with
hang
that.
on,
I
Mr.
never
Ajaka.
said that.
Mr. Ajaka, just pause. There's an objection.
Sorry.
Your Honour, looking at the transcript, I don't know whether that's a fair representation of what the union rep said. I'm just looking at page 1, and it's the 4th row that we're out on a mass meeting, there is 150 jobs on the line. Then the CEO has been told that there will be a council meeting tomorrow. They'll go into a closed session and the mayor will him. So
I think the difficulty was question attributing that source of the 150 to Mr. Ajaka in this interview.
yes,
Is it somewhere else?
I'll reframe the question.
Thank you.
Wasn't it obvious to you, Mr. Ajaka, that by at least the period immediately after the Hadley interview on the day before the meeting, that the council meeting the following day was likely to involve significant issues in managing it because of the controversy over whether there would be 150 job losses? Wasn't that obvious to you
No.
the day before? Not obvious.
No. As I said before, there'd been previous demonstrations. There'd been no issue. There'd be previous times where employees would be in the chamber, public members be in the chamber. There were no issues. The only issues that arose in the chamber were usually from a member of the public, not from an employee.
Well, I want to suggest to you, isn't it obvious that the message that was being put out in the media, that there was slated to be 150 job losses and that there was going to be a meeting the following day was dynamite news in terms of the likely impact it would have on the conduct of that meeting the next day. Do you accept that?
No.
Or that it was at least going to be very controversial issue and would make that meeting very difficult to manage. Do you agree with that?
No.
Do you agree with the fact that that meeting, as it happened to play out, was a very difficult meeting to manage because of the number of protesters who turned up?
No, the difficulty was more from the non-employees that turned up, that would not leave, that were yelling out interjections to the mayor.
Well, you agree that there were a large number of people at the meeting?
Correct.
And that
inside the chamber, yes.
And there are a large number of people outside the chamber?
Correct, but as I said, we could hardly hear them.
And you're aware that they were outside the chamber chanting with placards, correct?
As I said, I wasn't aware of the placards, but I'm aware they were chanting, but I couldn't actually hear what they were chanting. It was muffled.
And the estimates you gave to Mr Harvey that there were in total 300 people, half inside the chamber and half outside the chamber, correct?
I can't recall that, but if that's what I said, then that's what I said.
That was your recollection a month after the meeting?
If that's what it was, that's what it was.
And do you agree with me that as that meeting played out, it was a very difficult meeting to manage in terms of managing the large number of people who wanted to be in the chamber, correct?
There was absolutely no difficulty in the beginning. The matters, the first initial matters that were proceeding well. No interjections, no one else was talking. It was only when the mayor, to everybody's surprise, moved a motion to have a closed session that the difficulties arose.
And do you agree that things escalated at that stage?
Well, they didn't escalate. The worst that occurred was that the members, those in the public, would not leave after we left.
Well, Mr Ajaka, do you accept that things escalated because the police were called?
They would not leave. Again, there were no actual incidents. They were just sitting there. A couple of the members of the public who were not employees were the ones who were screaming out, you can use that term, to the mayor. But all of the employees just sat there. They were taking no action whatsoever. The police were called, as I understand it, because the mayor was frustrated that they would not leave.
Isn't the case that the police were called because a minute had been passed for the council to go into confidential session, which were required the clearing of the council room, and people would not obey that direction? And that is why the police were called. Do you accept that?
Yes.
My learned friend has asked if we have a short break. If
Is that a convenient?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, I'll come 12 past to be precise, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr Ajaka, Mr Ajaka, what I wanted to suggest to you is that if you in fact wanted to de-escalate the situation about the 150 job loss public rumour, that as CEO you ought to have issued a press release making clear that that was not in contemplation. Do you accept that?
In hindsight, absolutely.
And that you should have issued that press release on the Monday, the 22nd of April, when you first became aware that that was a rumour that the union was spreading. Do you accept that?
Yes.
And that the following morning, when the union delegate had gone on Ray Hadley to repeat the rumour, that by that point it was absolutely clear that what was required of you as a CEO was to issue a prompt press release making clear that that rumour was false. You accept that?
In hindsight, yes.
Well, I want to suggest to you that that ought to have been obvious to you at the time, given your understanding that that rumour was going to be very controversial. You accept that was obvious to you at the time?
No.
Well, I want to suggest to you that it ought to have been obvious to you as a CEO at the time that what you ought to do as CEO was to promptly issue a press release making apparent that that rumour was being spread and it was false. Do you accept that?
As I said, in hindsight, yes.
Well, I'm asking you a different question. That it ought to have been obvious to you at the time that the course that needed to be taken to de-escalate the situation was for you as a CEO to issue such a press release. Do you accept that?
As I said, it wasn't, but in hindsight, it should have been.
Well, I want to suggest to you, Mr. Ajaka, of a person of the level of experience that you have had in public and professional life, and you agree with me that you're well versed in issuing press releases and dealing with matters in the public domain, correct? That if one wanted to take a course of de-escalating the situation, it was obvious that the course was to issue a press release disavowing the rumour, correct?
At the stage that this has happened, I'd had no communication with the press. The mayor was out almost every day talking to everybody.
Mr. Ajaka.
I made a decision not to deal with the press. And so that's why it wasn't obvious to me at that stage.
Well, just
but I'm
both-
saying to you that in hindsight, when you put it to me the way you did, I should have done that and I accept that, but I didn't.
What I want to suggest to you, Mr. Ajaka, is that of someone with your long-standing political experience and experience in dealing with the media, that it would have been obvious to you at the time that if you wished to de-escalate the situation, that the obvious step was to issue a press release dispelling the rumour, correct? That was obvious at the time.
Well, it wasn't obvious to me at the time. That's what I'm saying to you. But I agree with you that it should have been obvious to me at the time, but it wasn't.
What I want to suggest to you is that it was obvious and that the reason why you did not take that course is that you were not seeking to de-escalate the situation.
No, I disagree with that completely.
And I want to suggest to you that by staying silent, it would have been obvious to you that your actions in staying silent, that you were in fact escalating the situation.
No.
And is it the reason why you stayed silent and did not seek to de-escalate the situation was because you had in effect fallen out with the mayor in your earlier meeting on the 16th of April?
No.
And isn't it the case that after you had told the mayor to shut the fuck up at that meeting, that at no point did you apologise to the mayor for your conduct at that meeting? Is that correct?
That's correct. I had attempted to by speaking continuously with Councillor Mel Goodman.
I'll come to your attempts, but just so we can do the building blocks, do you accept that at no point did you apologise for your conduct to the mayor?
Correct.
And you accept that your officers were 10 metres away from each other?
Correct.
And isn't it the case that you had regularly phoned Mr. Manoon on his mobile phone as part of your ongoing relationship, that you could easily telephone him?
Correct.
Correct. And as my learned friend put to you last week, you could go up and knock on his door and say sorry, correct?
Correct.
And that would have nipped in the bud a conflict if you had gone and apologised to the mayor for your conduct in that meeting. Do you accept that?
Yes.
And I want to suggest to you is that the reason why you did not apologise to the mayor is because you were by your conduct adding to the escalation of this conflict. Do you accept that?
No.
And on and do you agree that, did you go to the mass meeting of staff at Liverpool Council on the morning of the 23rd of April, which was the day before the council meeting, which was the mass meeting at which there was discussed 150 job losses? Did you go to that meeting?
I don't think I was even aware that was.
Well, weren't you aware that the union member had told Ray Hadley that there had been a mass meeting at work where there had been a vote to stop work the following day?
I said I didn't hear the Ray Hadley interview. I just got told a few things.
So were you aware prior to the council meeting on the 24th that there had been a mass meeting of staff to discuss the 150 job losses?
I don't have any recollection of that.
And on the morning, you recall that the council meeting was scheduled to start at 2 p.m?
All council meetings are scheduled to start.
And that was the case for that meeting, correct?
It would have been, yes.
And that Mr. Manoon sent you an email at about 11:19 a.m. that morning asking you, I'll go back a step. Was it ordinarily the case that as CEO you would sit next to the mayor at council meetings?
Yes.
And Mr. Manoon sent you an email that morning. I think we should put that up, olg.001.001.0311_0002. Yes, please. You recall receiving that email?
Yes.
And that he told you that he didn't feel safe at his place of work?
That's what the letter says, yes.
And he linked that to the way you had spoken to him at the meeting on the 16th? You recall reading that?
Yes.
And then about 5 paragraphs down, he says, I therefore inform you, because of the environment that you have created, I'm finding it difficult to chair today's meeting with you sitting next to me. Could you please make suitable arrangements to make sure a safe environment is provided to myself and others? My preference is to have the Deputy Mayor sitting next to me. You see that?
Yes.
So you understood that what the Mayor was asking you to do was to please not sit next to him at the meeting,
Yes.
correct?
I was
And
stunned when I received this, yes.
And isn't it the case that you refused to sit at a different spot at the meeting? Is that correct?
I immediately responded to that letter and set out in that response my views.
But if you focus on my question, isn't it the case, and we'll turn up the email, that you refused to comply with that request and sit somewhere different at the meeting? Is that correct?
I did not agree with him, and I considered that he was simply playing games, especially with the last paragraph, that I'd not made any attempt to apologise. He knew well that I'd been talking to Councillor Mel Goodman on numerous occasions, arranging a time to meet with him for the purpose of the apology. And as far as he not feeling safe, all due respect, I didn't accept that at all. I mean, it was just extraordinary that he would say something like that to me.
But do you agree that you refused to sit somewhere different at the meeting? Is that correct?
No, I responded to that and pointed out the reasons why.
And isn't it the case that at the meeting you refused to sit somewhere different? Is that right?
After I sent my letter, he didn't respond back. I took it that the matter was over. And when we arrived at the meeting, we sat next to each other and we went through the normal course. So I thought the issue was completely over.
So just the answer to my question is, do you agree with me that you did not sit somewhere differently to your usual spot.
Yes.
Correct. Thank you. Your understanding when you went to that meeting, wasn't it, that the Mayor might move on a motion to have your appointment terminated that afternoon?
I never for one moment believed he would actually do it.
Well, I'm asking you a different question.
I'm sorry,
Your
I-
understanding at the time was that before that meeting, that the Mayor intended to move on a motion to have his appointment terminated. Was that
No.
your understanding?
No, that was not my understanding. No, that was a rumour that was going around, but I didn't believe it.
Well, you had heard that rumour.
I'd heard that rumour and didn't accept it.
In fact, you wrote to him in the email. We could go up to the previous page, please. I am well aware that you have advised a number of people that you intend to move a motion to have my appointment terminated.
Correct.
So that was your state of understanding at the time, correct?
That was my understanding, that he was telling people that. But again, I did not actually believe for a moment he would do it. Not with, I mean, no notice whatsoever was given to me. Nothing was advised. There was nothing in the business papers. It just, I didn't accept it.
And you
when
were,
they-
sorry,
That's right.
you're aware that he did not in fact move on such a motion at that meeting, correct?
Sorry, say that again.
You're aware that he did not in fact move on such a motion at the meeting? He
No.
did not put up a motion to have your contract terminated at the meeting, correct?
What I'm aware of is that we went through the meeting in the normal process. A motion was passed, in effect, commending me and the staff, and I thought the matter was completely over.
Just focus on my question, Mr. Ajaka. You're aware that at that meeting, the Mayor did not move on any type of motion to have your appointment terminated. Do you accept that?
No, that's not what I was informed.
I'm not asking you what you were told in advance of the meeting. I'm asking you, in terms of what happened at the meeting, do you agree that the Mayor did not move on a motion to have your contract terminated at the meeting, correct?
No, I was told that the Mayor moved the mayoral minute to have it terminated, was unable to get the numbers, and that went from that to putting me on special leave, and he was able to get the numbers for that. But I was informed that he did, in fact, try and terminate my contract at that meeting, but one of the Liberal councillors would not vote with him.
Now, at the meeting, do you agree that one of the motions that was passed in open session was that the council actually directed the CEO to send an email to all staff advising them of the commitment to increase staff and where Liverpool Council is with in terms of headcount, roles and budget? Are you aware that that motion was passed?
Yeah, I think that was the same motion that also commended the staff and the CEO.
Just listen to my question, Mr. Ajaka. Do you accept that part of that motion in paragraph 6 was a direction to the CEO to send an email to all staff, in effect clarifying the issue in relation to staffing?
Part of the motion, yes.
Correct. And do you accept that an email to that effect should have gone out prior to this meeting?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the
Do you
question.
accept that an email to that effect from the CEO should have gone out prior to this meeting?
Yeah, I've already answered that, yes. But not in response to that motion. It didn't exist at the time.
It should have, the CEO, you should have understood that that was necessary and should have happened prior to the meeting, correct?
As I said, in hindsight, yes, I should have done that.
So you're aware that when the mayor advised that the council would move into closed session to discuss a confidential mayoral minute, that required the chamber to be cleared,
Correct.
and you agree that the people who were in the chamber, which was a mixture of staff and members of the public, refused to leave the chamber, correct?
I found that out after I left. So we left first, myself and the directors, and then a short time later, when I say short time, within a minute or two, I noticed none of the public were coming out.
And you went back into the chamber, did you?
I received a message from one of the staff that the mayor wanted me to go back into the chamber and directed me to tell the staff to leave.
And isn't it the case that you received a message, I think it was a text message from Shane Mallard, a director, to the effect that you should tell your employees to get out of the chamber? They've been directed by the mayor. Do you recall receiving a text message to that
I may
effect?
have received a text message as well, I can't recall now.
But
But I was definitely told the mayor wanted me to go back in and tell them to leave.
And isn't it the case that there was a delay of some 10 minutes where the members, the people in the chamber did not leave? And do you agree with that, that there was a period where they had been asked to leave and people were refusing to leave?
Oh, there was definitely a period, I can't tell you how long.
And if I suggest it was approximately about 10 minutes, does that sound correct?
Could have even been longer.
It was
I just can't recall it. At
Thank
least
you.
10 minutes, yes.
Thank you. And I want to suggest to you that in that period, you did not, in that 10-minute period, you did not tell
into the chamber without being told or, in a sense, authorised to go back in. I was standing outside following the direction that was given to me. When I got the direction, I went back in.
and I want to suggest to you that there was a delay before you gave any type of direction to people in the chamber that they should leave.
As soon as I was told the mayor wanted me to go in, I believe I went in almost instantaneously. But there was a period from when I left to when I got the direction to go in.
And do you recall that Mr. Rostevsky was in the chamber refusing to leave, and he was yelling at the mayor, "You're a coward"?
Councillor, sorry, Commissioner, I object to this. At this particular point in time, Peter Rostevsky is a great payer. This falls within the terms.
At the moment, all that's been asked was Mr. Rostevsky in the chamber yelling at the mayor in the context where members of the public have been asked to leave. I don't know that it's put any higher than that, so I'll allow the question.
No, please.
I'll break it down, Mr. Ajaka. You know what Mr. Rostevsky looks like.
Yes,
Did you see him at the council meeting that day?
yes, he and other members of the public.
And he was a member of the public at that point because he was no longer a councillor, is that correct?
Correct.
And were you present when he was yelling out at the mayor, "You're a coward, you're a coward"? They're not like pointing to the public, they're not going anywhere, you can call the police. Were you there when he said those words?
I remember the first part. I don't recall the second bit.
Sorry, you remember that "you're a coward" words?
Was said yes.
That Mr. Rostevsky was yelling that out at the mayor?
Yes, but I was leaving the chamber as that was happening, but I recall it being said while I was leaving.
Now, I want to suggest to you that your evidence that Mr Manoon tried to put up a motion to have your contract terminated at the meeting in closed session is not correct, that the motion was only ever in relation to special leave.
As I indicated, I was told by someone that that was the original aspect, but that he was unable to get it through, and then it moved to special leave, and it took some time before that occurred, and that's why there was such a long delay before it occurred.
Is that based on something that someone told you?
Correct.
You didn't see a document to that effect, correct?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
You didn't see a document to that, correct?
No, I haven't seen any documents.
So after the mayoral confidential minute was passed, the effect of that in part was that you were placed on a period of special leave. You're aware of that? You were informed of that?
I was informed of that by the mayor and the deputy mayor in the kitchen.
Thank you. Is that a kitchen that adjoins the council chamber room?
Yes,
And so Shane Mallard went with you when the mayor told you that information, is that correct, in the kitchen?
correct.
And it's the case, isn't it, that when you're in the kitchen with Mr Mallard, he communicated to you that the mayor's preference was for you to not go back into the council room, given the situation in the council room. Do you recall that? That you were asked not to go back into the chamber?
My recollection was the mayor was the one who told me not to go back into the chamber, not
But-
Mr Mallard.
Either way, that message was communicated to you to please not go back into the chamber, correct?
Yes, after I was told about the special leave.
Okay. And you did not agree with that approach, and you insisted on going back into the chamber when the resolution was announced, is that correct?
When I was correct.
Just want to move to some other topics, Mr Ajaka. You've given evidence last week about the number of staff utilised by the mayor. Do you recall that evidence last week?
Sorry that I...
You gave evidence last week about the number of staff that worked for the mayor,
Yes,
and you're aware that under the civic expense and facilities policy at the council that the mayor is entitled to a dedicated personal assistant?
an EA.
Yes.
Yes,
And that's an entitlement of the mayor?
an EA and a deputy EA too.
And you're aware that, and so Mr Manoon had those staff, is that your evidence?
Correct,
And that was within his entitlement?
correct.
And that you're aware that, so I want to suggest to you that your evidence that the mayor had 4 staff is not correct?
No, he also had the entitlement to a senior policy advisor and a junior policy advisor. That's what I was informed of. So that would be the total of 4.
Well, who are the senior policy and junior policy advisor that you're speaking of?
When I first started, was Shane Mallard, who ultimately was replaced by Betty Bustani, and it was Harris Stragus. Shane, Betty were the senior, Harris was the junior. And they were all outside his office.
In relation to Harris, how do I pronounce his surname?
Harris Stragus.
Harris Stragus. He was a government relations officer, correct?
For Ned Manoon or previous?
Well, I want to suggest to you that his role at council was as a government relations officer, and so he was available to the council generally.
Well, my understanding was that he was hired as the junior policy advisor and made available to the mayor.
And he was also made available to the council generally in that role?
Not that I'm aware of. That may have occurred later in time.
Now, you gave evidence last week about whether you had conversations with Mr. Manoon about who works for who and so on. Do you recall that, your evidence about that last week?
Yes.
And do you recall having a lunch with Mr. Manoon in February of 2023? So it was shortly after you had been appointed as CEO, and I think it was a lunch between you, Mr. Manoon, and Scott Phillips, who was the CEO of Local Government New South Wales, and also I think Carmelo Pesce, the Mayor of Sutherland, and some other people. Do you recall that lunch?
No, but I had quite a number of lunches with Mr. Manoon.
Okay.
That one specifically, no.
But there could have been a lunch at that point,
Oh, absolutely.
and with people like that?
As I said, I had many lunches with him. He'd organise people to come and visit and would ring me at the last minute and ask me to join him.
Okay. And I want to suggest to you that as a result of a discussion that was had at that lunch, that you had said something to the effect to Mr. Manoon at the lunch that he as mayor, that you're just a spokesperson for council. Do you recall saying that to Mr. Manoon?
At the lunch?
Yes.
No.
Or do you recall saying something to that effect around that time?
That Mr. Manoon,
That his role as a mayor was really as just a spokesperson for the council?
no, on a number of occasions, Ned Manoon would say to me, I'm the spokesperson of council. And on occasions, I would say, yes, you're the spokesperson of council, among other things. But I'd also usually qualify it by saying, you're the spokesperson of council of matters that have been approved by the council, and you're the spokesperson in that regard.
What I want to suggest to you is that the gist of the conversation you were having was that you had unduly confined the role of mayor by saying to him, you're the spokesperson of council, and that by your comments you didn't recognise the full role of the mayor under the Local Government Act.
Absolutely not.
Do you recall having a discussion to that effect?
No, as I said, no. That was one of his many functions, that he was the spokesperson of the council.
And that Mr. Manoon actually discussed with you the terms of the relevant provision in the Local Government Act, which is section 226, to point out to you that provision had been amended and contemplated a broader role for the mayor. Do you recall having a discussion to that effect?
I don't recall having a discussion about that.
Are you aware that section 226 of the Local Government Act, which I can tell you it describes the role of the mayor, and subsection J is to advise, consult with and provide strategic direction to the General Manager in relation to the implementation of the strategic plans and policies of the council. You're aware that it says that?
Yeah, from memory, yes, something
And
like
so
that.
the reference to General Manager there, we read CEO, correct?
Yes.
So you agree with me that part of the role of mayor is not just to be a spokesperson, but it included providing strategic direction to someone like you as a CEO.
Yes.
And
Is it possible to see the whole section, the whole,
so I think so.
Yeah, so I think we have it in the system.
from recollection, there's also some other subsections and some,
There's many.
There's a whole list.
We'll just have it brought up.
Would be free.
Which,
Sorry?
at
section-
which point in time? Is it pre the amendments or the?
Well, I think relevantly, if this can be done February 2023, I think that's probably going to be in the same form as,
I think we.
I have an A.
What, at what point in time? What's the version we have? August 2024. That's pre the suite of amendments that commenced. All right, well, we'll go with that one. And if there's a problem,
I think that's likely to be correct.
was 226 amended at the same time? Don't know.
I can't
That's
assist
okay.
with that, I'm sorry.
That's all right. That provision's in both versions, so we're on safe ground.
Oh, good. So take your time to read that, but I would also draw to your attention
yes,
the provisions that refer to the general manager, subsection J, K and N.
Just
Yes.
scroll down if we can.
yep. I was just reading the beginning bit.
Oh, I'm
if I
sorry,
could.
Mr. Ajaka, that's my fault. You
No,
tell
no.
me when you get to the end of G, take your time, and we can then scroll.
Yes.
So I think you agree with me that the role of the mayor goes well beyond being a mere spokesperson for the council. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I've always agreed with that. My view wasn't that that's the only role of the mayor.
And I want to suggest to you that Mr. Manoon at no point said to you that you work for him.
He said on a number of occasions.
And I want to suggest to you that what he in fact said was, I'm not your boss, but I'm also not just a spokesperson of council.
No.
And that he was saying words like, I'm not your boss, but I'm not just a spokesperson, in the context of a discussion between the two of you about section 226 of the Local Government Act and what it set out as the role of the mayor. Do you accept that?
No, I don't accept that. Any discussions he and I had were always on the basis that he was a spokesperson of council, and yes, he would speak to me about matters and policies, but these are policies approved by council. In other words, he's the spokesperson of council of matters determined by council. He couldn't just go and determine something on his own. It had to still be determined by council. It's why on so many occasions I would say to him, if you really want me to do this, you need to move a motion or a mayoral minute, have it passed by council, and then I will immediately implement it. And that occurred on many occasions where a motion would be passed where the CEO is directed to do X.
And so Mr Manoon was well aware, wasn't he, that he required council resolutions to approve those types of activities?
I made that very clear to him on many occasions.
That Mr Manoon was aware of that himself. Do you accept that?
I would assume he'd listen to me when I said it.
Well, because that's the pathway he in fact took, which was to seek council resolutions to approve relevant activities, correct?
I would accept that, yes.
Now, last week you gave evidence that the Mayor would name certain employees that he wanted terminated. I want to suggest to you that he never made any comment to you about a particular staff member that he wanted terminated.
That's not correct.
And are you aware, I want to suggest to you that he made one or two negative comments about staff and the fact that grass had not been cut. Are you aware of that?
He was always making negative comments about the staff in relation to grass, in relation to toilets, in relation to other matters. Yes.
Well, I want to suggest to you that he wasn't always doing that he did that on very few occasions.
He was doing it on more than a few occasions, and I wasn't the only person he was doing it with. As I said, he sometimes used a scattergun approach where he'd send out a WhatsApp message to myself, the director, a few other people, sometimes 5 or 6 people at once. Sometimes Harris Strategist would be in the SMS. It was happening quite regular.
And that Mr Manoon emailed you about bathrooms on multiple occasions, and that Mr Manoon emailed you about bathrooms on multiple occasions, and
I think there were SMSs or WhatsApp messages with photos.
And reminded you of the resolution of council to have more bathroom cleanups at peak times. Do you recall receiving messages to that effect?
I don't remember the resolution peak times, but he was definitely sending photos, SMSs. In one particular case, I believe he had one of his sons with him, and he was just outraged at how dirty the bathroom was,
And
the toilet block was.
you're aware that there was a council resolution to that effect, to have more bathroom cleanups at peak times?
Correct.
And that's what he was expressing his dissatisfaction about?
I don't know if he was doing it in relation to peak times, but he was definitely expressing his dissatisfaction.
And do you agree that one of the issues about employees that you and Mr Manoon had was his disagreement with the approach you took of withdrawing an IRC action in relation to an employee who had used the Islamophobic slur against him of putting pork on your fork? Are you aware that he was unhappy about that approach you took?
No, he never mentioned that to me. He was aware that I had resolved the issue and that there was an agreement that the staff had undertaken to me that no such comments would ever be made in the future. And also it occurred at the same time, and he was made aware that I was going to take the billboard down outside of operations, and that the staff had agreed not to be driving trucks with adverse comments on the mayor. That was all part of the agreement reached with the USU and remained literally in force right up until the council meeting when that matter occurred, where I was told subsequently the pork on the fork arose again for the very first time.
That people were chanting that at the meeting?
I was told they were chanting about it. I was told one employee was chanting about it at the meeting, and it ended up, I understand, being the same employee. But that was the first time from when I resolved the matter. I was surprised it raised its head again.
You agree that that was a very difficult matter that the mayor had to deal with, that there were billboards with adverse comments being driven by council staff?
As I said, when I first started, it became very evident to me that there was a very toxic culture and relationship between the mayor and the staff. And there was this almost tit for tat approach. They did something, he'd do something, they did something, he'd do. And within a very short period of time, I was proud of the fact that I was able to put an end to it, resolve it, and everyone went on their way to do their job as they should. It only, again, raised its head in a very sad way after that council meeting. System.
Is it your understanding that the employee that was chanting, put fork on your fork at the council meeting on the 24th of April was the same employee who had said it previously and been the subject of IRC proceedings about it?
I was told that subsequently.
And it was those proceedings that you had withdrawn, is that correct?
I assume that we'd had settled them and then the proceedings were withdrawn because they were settled. I think from memory, the USU, on behalf of the employee, had commenced the proceedings and they withdrew it when we came to an agreement.
Do you agree with me that Mr. Manoon never said anything to the effect that in terms of photos or communications that certain people should be cut out of photos that were disseminated by the communications team?
He was saying that to the employees. And that's
No,
what
I'm
they were
asking
doing.
you, do you agree he never said that to you?
When I discussed with him that the communications were doing this, he basically walked away. So he never admitted it, if that's what you're asking me.
Do you agree with me that at no point did he say to you, I would like communication staff to only feature certain people in photos? Do you
No, he
accept
never
that?
said that specifically to me.
I just note the time. Just one last short topic, if that's convenient, Mr. Commissioner.
Convenient to do it now?
I think so. I might start.
Yes,
It's
yes.
short.
Does anyone have any difficulty if we sit on? No.
It would only be a minute or two.
No, that's fine.
Last week, Mr. Ajaka, you gave evidence about a councillor interaction with staff policy. You're aware of that policy?
Yes.
And you're aware that that policy has been in existence for some time at Liverpool Council, in various versions of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from memory, 2020 all the way through to, I think this is June 2023, the last one that I saw.
Well, I can tell you from the document it goes well before that.
I just recollect the 2020. I think they're the ones that I saw when we looked at the final one in June 2023.
So I just wanted to, the first, what we can see from the document that the first version is as far back as 2002.
Look, okay.
So I just wanted to clarify one aspect of your evidence.
Yes.
You weren't suggesting that that policy was introduced as a new policy aimed at something Mr. Manoon was doing, is that correct?
No.
Or is that correct or not correct?
No, it wasn't introduced simply because of what a councillor or the
It
mayor
had
were
been in
doing.
existence for
The
some
policy
time.
existed, but like so many policies, they were being updated.
And I think I might deal with this tomorrow because I'm going to have that policy put up on the screen.
Is there anything else to do? No? All right, Mr. Ajaka, we'll resume at 10 a.m. in the morning
Thank you, Commissioner.
and I'll adjourn until 10 a.m. See you then.
Thank you.